Hello everyone, welcome to Literacy Today. Do you remember the book that we read, How to Catch a Star by Oliver Jeffers? Well, Oliver is such a talented and gifted author and illustrator. He also wrote many other amazing stories. Today I chose to read The Way Back Home. This story has the main character, the boy, who was also in How to Catch a Star. In both stories, there is also a red airplane. There you go, same character and the same red airplane. However, in the story I'm reading today, The Way Back Home, the boy's imagination does what any other young adventurer would do. He flies his plane into space. While he's flying millions of miles from Earth, that's the planet that we live on, his plane runs out of petrol. Now, petrol is just another name for gasoline or fuel. So he lands on the moon. Fortunately, the boy finds someone who's also stuck on the moon. The boy and the Martian are totally different from each other. How they look, how they talk and think. But they become friends and they work together to help each other problem solve. So today, we're going to get ready to read The Way Back Home. When we work on our response page today, we're going to learn all about story mapping. And story mapping is the way we travel through a story. We're going to learn about the characters, the boy and the Martian. We're going to look and see how they solve their problems. And at the end, there is a solution. But I'm not going to tell you. Let's get ready to read. The Way Back Home by Oliver Jeffers. That's the boy and the Martian and the red airplane that I was talking about. And of course, the Martian has his plane of some sort right there. So here we go. The Way Back Home by Oliver Jeffers. Once there was a boy. And one day, as he was putting his things back in the closet, he found an airplane. He didn't remember leaving it in there, but he thought he'd take it out for a go right away. The plane lifted off the ground and up into the sky, higher and higher and higher. Suddenly, the plane sputtered. It had run out of fuel. Now the boy was stuck on the moon. What was he to do? There is a problem there. He was all alone and afraid, and soon his flashlight began to go out. More problems for the boy. Meanwhile, up in space, someone else was in trouble too. His engine had broken down, and steering the ship towards a flicker of light, he landed on the moon with a bump. The boy heard noises. The Martian heard noises. Both feared for the worst. But as their eyes got used to the dark, both the boy and the Martian realized they met someone else in trouble. They weren't alone anymore. The boy and the Martian. The boy showed the Martian his empty fuel tank, and the Martian showed the boy his broken engine. Together, they thought of ways to fix their machines and get them back home. doing a lot of thinking and problem solving here. As the earth was nearest, the boy went first. Down he jumped, right into the sea, and swam towards home. But by the time he got there, the boy was tired out, so he sat in his favorite chair just to catch his breath. His favorite program was just starting, and he settled down to watch. Meanwhile, his new friend Martian is still stuck on the moon. But suddenly, he remembered what he should be doing. He rushed off to the closet to get what he needed. Then he ran outside and shouted, but there was no reply. He couldn't be heard. There's the supplies he had. The boy climbed to higher ground, called again, and waited. This time, a rope was lowered. The boy began to climb, and the Martian began to pull. And soon the boy was back on the moon with his friend the Martian. This is where the problem solving comes. The boy, he fixed up the Martian ship with a couple of rubber bands and a wrench, while the Martian filled the boy's fuel tank. They said goodbye and thanked each other for their help. They wondered if they'd ever meet again, the boy and the Martian. After a long and tiring night, they were both finally off the moon. The boy went one way and the Martian went another, both on their way back home. This page is very interesting. There was a knock at the door, a delivery box, hello, hello. What do you think was happening here? Great story, don't you think? The Way Back Home by Oliver Jeffers. Well, let's get busy with our activities for today. Of course, you're familiar with the response page. And the question is, complete the story map on the back for The Way Back Home. Now, when you get this page, you're probably going to say, Mrs. Meropol, what is the word setting mean? Characters, problem, and solution. Well, earlier I mentioned to you about we were going to learn about story mapping. Story mapping is just the way you navigate through a story, how you read it, and how you figure out what's going on. Well, when we talk about characters, that just means where they're boys or girls or moms or dads or animals or pets. So whenever you see the word characters, just think about people or animals. In this particular story, it was the boy and the Martian. Only two characters in the story. Now there's this word right here just means setting. What do we mean by setting? Well, could the setting take place at the ocean? Could it take place outside? Could it take place inside your house or at school? The setting of this story didn't take place in a house, but it took place on the moon. So settings just mean where. Now we're going to talk about the problem in our story. When you see that word problem, I think of a lockbox. something that's all locked up. It's locked up, we can't solve it, we're frustrated. Their problem was that they are stuck on the moon. Wow, how can we solve this problem and come up with a solution? Well, the solution usually means how you unlock the problem of the story. Well, Oliver Jeffers, because of the author, he came up with a solution for the Martian and the boy. And it was tools and petrol. Petrol just means gasoline. So now you have a good feeling about how you can travel through a story. So let's bring back your response page. And I'll give you some ideas. Here we go. The problem in the story. The setting of the story. There we go. Was it a house? No, it wasn't. It happened on the moon. So I just cut out a moon and put it there. Now you know now that in kindergarten we start labeling a lot. So the setting didn't take place in a home or outside. It took place on the moon. So I'm just going to write moon. Let's move on to the characters. These people just gives you an idea to remember who were the characters in The Way Back Home. Well, we know that there were two characters. There was the Martian and the boy. They also were such good friends, even though they were different and they thought differently and they talked differently, they were great friends. So we're going to write Martian, begins with an M, Martian. And then boy. So those are our characters. Now here we come with the problem. It's all locked up. They're frustrated. They don't know what to do because they do, in fact, have a problem. Now you remember, they're stuck on the moon, right? So you can either draw or cut out your moon. I just drew mine and cut it out. And then I knew that the boy's plane ran out of fuel and got stuck. And the Martians bumped into the moon, and his needed fixing. So the problem is that they are stuck on the moon. Don't forget to add that period in your sentence. Well, they did come up with a solution. And the solution was petrol, some type of fuel, to fill the airplane. And of course, tools to fix the Martian's engine. So there we go. The petrol to fuel the plane and the tools to fix the engine. What a great story. The Way Back Home. And remember, both stories had the same characters, and they also talked about a red airplane. Have a great day, everybody.